Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Red Report, your Manchester United fan channel. And today we're going to be discussing the pre-match press conference held by Robert Amorim, and we will be discussing what he's been talking about, how he feels against he's going to bide against Liverpool versus Manchester United, what some team news are. He's discussed some of the contracts that has to be renewed with the players at Manchester United, who's missing, who's available. So we're going to get into all of that. So let's just go ahead and start. The first thing he was talking about, that he had a lot of time to train, and this is what he had to say. We had more time to train, 2 days in a row to train with the team. I think that can help us, given the environment. Of course, it is a difficult moment because we are losing too many matches. We are going to face the best team this year. But like I said, we are training. We feel more the team. We prepare more the team, and we want to improve the performance compared to the last game. And I think this is something that he's been crying out for, is time to train. He came in the most hectic time of Manchester United, and he came in a time where he didn't have any time to implement his ideas. He didn't have any time to implement the way he wants to play. He came in and he had to play games right away, and he didn't know who his players were, how good they are in those positions, and he just had to adapt right away. And he even made a condition that he wanted to start in the summer, but Ineos said, no, you have to start now. And that's the reason he is now here in Manchester United. So he needed time to train. And it's good to finally hear that he has those time to train, because I think the more training we get with this new formation, the more effective this team is going to be. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to support Amorim 100%. He is our head coach. We are going to rely on him. He is an exciting coach. He came from 2 Portuguese titles in 4 years. I know Portuguese Portuguese league isn't as good as the English league, but that's still quite an accomplishment to have, coming from the Portuguese league. So with more time to train, I bet that the team is going to become better and better. I don't expect an overnight turnaround and us playing like primetime Real Madrid or Man City, or even 15 years ago Manchester United. But what is good to hear is that he is getting some time to train. And a lot of these players need training. And if you have seen Jamie Carragher discuss Casemiro's issues in the last game, how he's not even confident where he should be and where he should be standing, on who he should be pressing. All these things have to come from training. And if we didn't have any training, we're not going to be able to get whatever Amorim's trying to do correct. Just imagine you playing FIFA. It's like Amorim's crippled. The players aren't doing what the controls are trying to make them do. And so he needs time to train. The player needs time to adapt with each other, and they need to practice. What kind of pressing do they need to make? What kind of passes do they need to make? What kind of runs do they need to make? All this has to come through training. And all he's looking for is an improvement. And we know the start to Newcastle game wasn't amazing, but we did see an improvement once Kobbie Mainoo was introduced, and we saw a change of play. It wasn't amazing still, but we did see a massive improvement. And that's something that he's looking to see in the coming games, is an improvement upon improvement upon improvement. Against Newcastle, we lost in the first 20-25 minutes. And if those goals weren't conceded in the first 25 minutes, I think the game would have looked very different. Just because we had the same amount of chances, if not more chances than Newcastle after the 2-0, being 2-0 down. So, what did he say next? What's being worked on? He said everything, the small things, the transitions. I think you can see the lack of possession in the last game, in the first half. He's talking about before Kobbie Mainoo, the control of the game. Everybody was so anxious, so nervous. And you can see that with the players. You can see when Jamie Carragher was talking about Casemiro. He didn't know where he should be positioned on the field. He kept looking at Amorim, trying to take directions from Amorim in the middle of the game. And that is something that should come from training. If you train long enough, your brain knows what to do, your body knows where you need to be at any given time. And that's what we lack. The crosses are really important, set pieces. I talk about this in my watch along and my reaction. We don't cross the ball enough. Mazraoui doesn't do that enough. Delo doesn't do that enough. Our number 10s always want to cut in and they don't want to cross enough. We did see that when Maguire had that chance, that was a pretty good chance that came from a cross. When we introduced Lenny Yoro, we had De Ligt and we had Maguire as well as Højlund. Those are 4 good players that are strong in the air. And so we need to become better at set pieces. We need to cross the ball more to create more opportunities. So that is something that we do need to do. He said also it is hard to say one thing. So obviously Manchester United have so many gaps in their in their playing style that there isn't just one thing to work on, but multiple things to work on. We work on, it's hard to say one thing. We work on a lot of things, but I think the possession, the way we control the tempo of the game, the understanding of where you should play was the main focus this week. Again, where you should play was the main focus this week, which is something Casemiro was highlighted not knowing what to do. And it's not just him, but that was the highlight of the mistakes that are happening inside of Manchester United. What did he say other than that? He was asked, he was talking about the responsibility to win. In football, one game, anything can happen. If you talk about the season, then almost every time the best win, as in the best team overall, they're going to win the league, which is what Liverpool have been doing this year, playing amazingly week in, week out. In the moment, they are better than us, talking about Liverpool, but we can win any game. And you might say he's naive, but if you say that, then you don't really understand the game of football. Everybody wrote us off and said that's going to be the game Manchester City is going to bounce back in. And we have been written off by everyone. Everyone expected us to lose. And we won. And we played much better than them, winning even the second half against Man City. That was a much better display than Manchester City. And so that is what he's trying to say. We can win any game. And looking at the players, they can win any game. If everything clicks, they will be able to win any game. And that's what he's talking about. He's not being delusional. I think he's being realistic in saying that we are able to win any game. And we look at the lesser teams, which we might be a lesser team now, being 14th in the league table. But you look at the lesser teams and you see them week in, week out, beating top teams. And that is the main point. We can win at any point. If you're writing us off right now, that is a mistake. Because Manchester United will be able to win against Liverpool if things go right. And that's all we need to be thinking about. In the moment, they are better than us, but we can win any game. We have to focus not on the contacts, but on the performance. What we have to do is simple things, and I think we have to improve the simple things to play these kind of games. We have the responsibility to play to win the game. And basically he's saying our players need to be doing the simple things correctly. The things I want to implement in my team, they have to be doing them correctly. Casemiro, sorry that I'm mentioning his name all the time, but that was highlighted with Jamie Carragher. Casemiro has to know where to stand at all times and not have to look for directions from the head coach. They have a responsibility to perform every game because they're playing for Manchester United, the biggest, arguably the biggest club in the world. They have to play like they've earned it. They have to play like they're continuing to try and show Amorim that they earned their positions. For far too long, players have been playing week in and week out without having to earn that position. And I think Amorim is now changing that. We can see that with Rashford. We can see that with the lack of game time Garnacho is getting. And we can see that with how he's trusting Maguire. Players that are performing, players that are training well are going to be in the team sheet and are probably going to start. If you give your all for my idea, if you give your all in training, you're going to be starting games, plain and simple. I love that about Amorim, and I hope he doesn't crumble under pressure. A lot of people are calling out for him to change his formation, and I hope he sticks with it, because he's saying that's the only way I see the game being played, and that's the only way he sees how his team should play, and he shouldn't have to crumble under pressure to appease other people. just because they think they know better. They're just pundits. Yeah, they've never been a high-level managers or head coaches. They just comment on their opinions. But Amorim sees the game the way he sees the game, and that has been his success for far too long. And he's not going to change that because a few people don't like the way he's playing, or are used to the 4-3-3 that we've always played, or are used to the 4-4-2 that we've played in the past, or are used to having wingers bombarding the flanks. That doesn't have to be the Manchester United way. If that was the way, they wouldn't have hired Amorim anyways. And so he's sticking to what he knows, and good on him. And we should all back this head coach. We should back everyone that comes into Manchester United until they're failing consistently and we don't see any improvements. I am seeing improvements in the way the club is conducting themselves with the players and not giving in to the players' demands. And I like the way that Amorim is handling the players and stamping his authority on the players. So that's what we need to see. What else has he said? He talked about contract situations, which are interesting. He said Ahmad is near to signing a new contract. So that is going to be a good news for every Manchester United fan. I think Ahmad has been our standout player this year. Something that we desperately needed, somebody with a passion and resilience to give his best day in, day out, and to actually do some magic on the field when we've been so uninspiring. He's been the only inspiring source in this team. So we're so hopeful that Ahmad is going to sign a new deal. I hope they don't give him a crazy deal like Rashford or Rashford or Casemiro, just because he's playing well. I hope they set up a new wage structure, which I think we need to talk about a bit. I think the wage structure has been completely ludicrous in Manchester United so far. And I think that there should be a very easy structure that the club has to follow. And this is my idea, basically. If you're a key player and year in, year out, you're performing well, you're a key player, you earn a certain wage. There's a bracket that you should be earning it. If you're a first team player, which is a bit less than a key player, I mean, everyone here has played football managers. You know, there's a key player, you know, there's a first team player contact, you know, there's a squad player, you know, there's a bench player. Each of these brackets should have their own interval of what their wages should be. And that's that. Every year, I think, it should be re-examined. If you're a key player, you're going to earn this much. If you're not a key player, you're going to earn this much. And I'm not sure if this works in football, but I think that is a great idea. You earn your contract based on your performance. A lot of people say, a lot of YouTubers say, this is not a charity. Like Manchester United for so long has been a charity and has been somewhere that players can come, get paid a buttload of money, and then just leave. And so this has to stop. Players should be earning their salary based on performances, based on what they're giving back to the club. About Harry Maguire, apparently it seems like Harry Maguire isn't very keen on negotiating his contract. And so what he said about Harry Maguire is we're going to trigger our option, basically having a club option to trigger another year. And so they're going to trigger that. And kind of what that speaks to me is that he hasn't agreed a new deal and they have to keep him because he's been a standout center back in the last few months. And he's been very reliable. And we know he's a leader, but he's expecting a bit more of him as well. And so he said, I spoke with him this morning. I told him he has to improve his game on the pitch. We need him a lot. And also he needs to improve as a leader. I don't know if this is translating wrong from Amorim because a lot of people are speaking about this statement. As in, if Maguire is playing well, why would you say he needs to improve? And why would you say he needs to be better? I think this is a mistranslation inside of Amorim's head, a miscommunication. I don't think he means that Maguire hasn't been good and he needs to be good to earn this contract. I think he's trying to say that he needs to improve so that the team around him can improve. And he needs to step up as a leader because everybody respects him and he's a great player. And I think he was trying to give him a compliment. And the compliment is coming in the next statement when he says, we need him a lot. And also he needs to improve as a leader. And we all know the situation that he had here, which is with the previous managers, playing him in the wrong position or not playing a 3, which doesn't benefit Harry Maguire. But we need him a lot in this moment, so we are going to trigger happily the option for Harry. And so what this is saying is that we do need players like Harry, and we can't afford to go buy a player in his stature and spend all that money on a center back that we already have and we can keep for another year. And I think this is amazing. I think 2 things can happen. Either Harry Maguire steps up, and he has been stepping up, and at the end of the year, he sees that he has value in this new Manchester United team, and he's a leader in this new Manchester United team. And I think he'll renew his contract in the summer. Or he just decides from now that he has a year and a half left on his contract, and he's going to leave as a free agent. I think he'll be 34 when his year and a half finish. And so I don't know how valuable or attractive he will be, at that point. And so I think it is for his benefit to renew his contract sooner rather than later, because the more he ages, the less attractive he's going to be and the less money he's going to earn, unless he's looking to go to Saudi Arabia or something. And so I think that's a great news about the club being able to trigger the option for Harry Maguire. And I think he's a much needed player and much welcome player currently in our squad. I think he is a leader, and I think he provides us a lot playing in a back 3. And he provides a lot going forward. Hopefully he'll be able to score more goals. 2 more things that was said in this press conference is, so they were talking about the January transfer activity. He said, while the window is open, we can try to do something. We will try to do something, but I think in the next weeks we are going to have more time to train and we can improve. That's the only way. So basically what he's trying to say is that he's not just going to buy players just to buy players. He's not just going to buy players without seeing what he already has. And what he's trying to say is that because we have a lot of time to train, I'll be able to assess who is going to be in our team in the future and who needs to leave. And I think that's what he's trying to get at. He's trying to get at that I finally have some time to train. I finally have some time to assess them in training, not in games, because in games they might be nervous, they might not be playing their best, but in training everyone's trying to do exactly what the coach is trying to ask them to do without any pressure. And so he's saying that because they have time to train, because they have more training sessions, he'll be able to assess what he needs in the January transfer window. And I think that is reasonable to say. And he isn't saying that we don't need any players. He's just saying I'm not going to be rushed and try to sign as many players as I can at the beginning of the window. He's saying January I have more time to train and assess, and I'm going to wait a bit and see who we need to get and who we need to offload. So we are going to have more time to train and we can improve. That's the only way. So he's saying it's not about getting the right player in, and that's when the winning starts to happen. He's saying if we train well, the winning starts to happen, and that is something that is positive to look forward to, because even with this player, we should be doing much better than being in the 14th in the league. We had a lot of games without training. Now we will have more space to grow. You can see that the context is worse in this moment as we had a lot of losses. So we have to manage everything. So he's having to juggle fans' emotions because we've been losing a lot, juggle players training with different positions, and juggle players not even turning up in practice. So he has a lot to juggle. But we as fans, the context is that we are only seeing Manchester United lose. And that's basically what he's talking about. We can't just look at the context, or he can't just look at the context. He has to look beyond the context and look at everything else that's happening behind the scenes. So we have to manage everything. The only solution we have is to work hard. We cannot change the last game. We can work on it, evaluate, but we cannot change it. So let's focus on the next one and work hard during this week. Exactly what you need to do. You can't dwell on the past. Just let's look forward and let's even if we lose to Liverpool, which a lot of people are projecting us losing, and it could happen, he's saying we need to see improvements, and that's what we need to say. If we get beaten by the best team in the league, that is not something to be crying about. But if we get beaten playing terribly, I think that is something that we can moan about. But we can't moan about losing to the best team in the league when we're 14th in the league. I don't think that's the context that he is talking about. We shouldn't just look at the score. We need to look at the performance, and we need to look at improvements in our game. And the last thing he talked about is Rashford's unlikely to play. At the moment, he's ill. He's not training, so we'll see in the future. But this is like a normal player, so he's saying this happens. Then I make a selection. It's the same. I think he's going to be out this week. He's not training, so we will see. But I think this week is out. So basically, Rashford's not going to be on the team sheet. I don't even think he's going to be on the bench. He's trying to say that this is not a disciplinary thing. This is just regular. If a player is sick, they're not training, they won't be in the team. But I think there's something bigger happening behind the scenes. I think whether Rashford is staying or leaving, that is still up for debate. I think it's 80% he is leaving, whether we're looking at swap options with Osimhen, whether we're looking out to loan him out with an obligation to buy, or whether he wants to go to Saudi Arabia. Some reports say that he doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia because he still wants to try and play in the England squad for the next upcoming tournament. So yeah, I don't think that this means definitely that Rashford is leaving, but I don't think that this is the full story. I think that whether he's ill or he's not, talking about Rashford in this way just means that he isn't in his plans. Whether it's for the next game, the future, or the next few years. So if Rashford wanted to step up, he would have stepped up. Maybe that's why he made the bench, or maybe Amorim put him on bench just to say that we're not outcasting Rashford, just to take the spotlight off of Amorim and put it on Rashford. That means if he trains well, he's going to be in the team, and if he doesn't train well, he's not going to be in the team. So that was the press conference. A lot to take in, a lot to talk about, but I think Amorim did a tremendous job in the press conference. I think the only thing that goes against him is talking about Harry Maguire and his need to improve and to step up as a leader, because most people think he is already doing that and he's being a professional and performing at his highest. And so I think that was the worst thing that he said, but I don't think that comes to... I think that comes to his miscommunication and mistranslation in his head of what he's trying to say. But I did think he did give Maguire a compliment, and he did say that he has been stepping up and he has been performing well, and we need him a lot. And that is a great positive to say about a player. So that was the press conference. Game is tomorrow. In a few hours, maybe in an hour and a half, I'm going to make another video talking about the lineup as a match preview and what we're expected to see and how we're expected to perform. But if you did like this video, please like and subscribe and follow me for more videos about